Hey everybody, so I guess the days of just watching a YouTube video and fixing your bike is coming to an end because I was able to get this Dawes Vantage for super cheap because nobody on YouTube was able to help this guy fix his bike. And he actually name dropped a, I guess a relatively popular channel that I went and checked out, and the guy wasn't wrong. The stuff was just generic. It was just generic. Like there's no creativity involved, and that's what this guy needs, and that's what this bike needs. So here, let me show you. What we got here is it's like a 3x8 speed, aluminum frame. So you can see here that the cable stops on the downtube are broken, and these are basically cable stops with threading so that you can thread in a barrel adjuster and adjust your shifting like while you're riding. So what can happen is barrel adjusters are made of steel, and these cable stops with the threads are made of aluminum, and if they're not greased, dissimilar metals can fuse together in something called galvanic corrosion. So if no grease had ever been put in there, or no maintenance grease along the way, then the bike may have been neglected, left outside, or even just the sweat from the rider, right? Because that's about where a person would sweat. That goes in there and then creates galvanic corrosion, and then those things get stuck. And then when you try to turn them, they just break. So that's what's happened on this bike here, and it's a big deal. You can either keep it like this and use them as cable stops, or you can do, some creative thinking and fix those. And if you just stick around, I'll show you what I did, and, I think it's pretty creative. It's not creative anymore because it's something that I thought of a while ago, but, maybe to some of these other bigger YouTube channels, maybe it is creative. Like, maybe it's something that they've never thought of before. A lot of times, I get bikes that are in this type of repair from actual repair guys because they just don't know what to do. Now here's the problem, right here. So this is where the bottom bracket would be, right? It's the bottom bracket shell, but you have the drive side cup that's in there, and I can almost guarantee you that it's stuck in there, right? And again, we have that galvanic corrosion problem. So it's an aluminum frame, it's a steel cup, and it's stuck. And you can tell that somebody has banged it out. Why? I don't know. But this is what they've done, and this is what whoever I got the bike from was stuck with, and he just did not know how to fix it. Now, some people are going to go the destructive method, which, surprises me since somebody banged out the bottom bracket but didn't think of just cutting grooves into it and then just trying to work it out. That's because they probably just gave up. Because galvanic corrosion, once that really sets in, it's very, very difficult to loosen that bond. And in some cases it's good, in some cases it's bad, and in this case it's really, really bad. So thumbs down for that. And it also explains why I got it so cheap. Now, there are also perks. I bought these bikes because there's some good stuff that people just kind of, neglect, right? They just see a problem, they just want to get rid of it, get their money back, which, I have no problem doing. So you can see that it's Continental tires, and they seem to be in pretty good shape. And you got an 8-speed cassette here, and it looks nice and shiny. I don't know if it's worn down, but it certainly doesn't look it. And you got this Shimano 8-speed derailleur. Now we move up here to the brakes, like canties, I don't know. Some guys like cantilevers, some don't. And you can see up here there's no seat post, and that's good because there's a lot of corroded parts, and the last thing you want is a corroded seat post, so a steel seat post in an aluminum frame, because that's a serious pain in the butt to get out. And we'll just move along here, and you can tell somebody painted this, right? It's not bad, but it's not good. Got these inline levers here, these Tektro inline levers. Everything seems pretty good. It's just you have those corrosion problems. Yeah, the Shimano shifters, the hoods look great. There we go, I'll just test it out. Now, I was having problems here kind of dropping it back down to the lower gears. So, you can see here, I'm pushing, and I had to really pull on it. So maybe the cable's too tight, or maybe it's getting caught on something. Most likely where that broken barrel adjuster is on the downtube cable stop. And we got the rear shifter here, which is working perfectly fine. Yeah, it's upshifting perfectly fine. I'm gonna have to say that for what I paid, I totally stole this off like for these parts, because they're totally fine. It's just the actual frame itself is a problem. And yeah, again, like look here, you got the Tektro brakes, and you have almost like a brand new tire. And tires these days are ridiculously expensive. So however it worked out, like I know it worked out for me, and it worked out for that guy because he got his dough back. This is it's literally like handing me a golden nugget. Yeah, and you know, I neglected to mention that this is a nice Shimano rear wheel. It's a Shimano RS. What do we got here? WHRS010, which, you know, that's like an 11-speed wheel. So 11-speed hub, and it's on the RS010 rim. So, you know, that's an expensive wheel, or it was in its time. So, yeah, we'll just leave it at this, and I'll move on to these fixes here and show you what I mean by creativity. Okay, so what I did is I got my buddy to go pick me up a cheap bottom bracket. It costs like 10 bucks. You need this in order to fix the seized cup that I showed you just a few minutes ago. This thing here, it's a Damco high quality bottom bracket. And you know, like it's the complete opposite, right? It's cheap, and that's what we're looking for because we want compatible cups. So we'll just open it up here, and you got the crank arm bolts. We'll just take off the non-drive side cup. And what I have here is this BB30 insert, right? So what it does, it goes inside of a BB30 bottom bracket shell, and you can insert one of these BSA bottom brackets. That's not what I use it for. I got it like for nothing, basically, because they technically just didn't really work. Anyways, so what it works for is an unintended purpose, which I'm going to show you right here. So I'm just going to thread the bottom bracket in to the BB30, you know, adapter thing here, and we just got to make sure that I don't cross thread it because I don't want to wreck anything. I don't want to wreck the cup or whatever, if I can help it. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put it in my vise. I'm not going to thread on the non-drive side cup because, you know, I don't want it there. I don't need it there. It's all secured by the drive side threads. So I'm just going to tighten it up in my vise here. And we just have to make sure that the bottom of the vise isn't going to get in the way of what I'm going to do here. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to bang out that axle, right? So I have my hammer. It's a steel hammer, but you know, I'm not going to bang it against the bottom bracket spindle because that would deform it and ruin it. So I'm just going to use this this old piece of wood here, and out she comes. A couple taps, and there we go. And you know, I'm sure some of you can already tell now what I'm trying to do, but you know, I'm going to kind of keep it as a surprise. At this point here, I'm just going to open it up and just show you, right? So the bottom bracket spindle has come out of the bottom bracket, right? You got this like kind of center thing here. It's just really a protector. You know, you don't really need it. It's really to keep the cup straight inside of the bottom bracket, but you know, you don't really need it. So what I'm going to do here is just screw it back in. I just need to get that bearing out. So as you saw in the spindle, the bearing didn't come off. It stayed in the cup. Now that should kind of give you another clue on, you know, my fix here. But anyway, so you know, I'm just kind of showing you that, you know, you might want to think, oh well, I'll just bang it out with the spindle, but don't do it, because what's going to happen is the bearing's just going to get stuck on the spindle. Like that's how it's designed, and you just don't do it. So what I did here is I just grabbed you know, like a punch, and just kind of knocked it all out. And there you go. There's that little piece. I'll show you. It just kind of fits onto the bearing, and you know, it would fit between the two bearings, right? But we don't really need to know that at this point. What we need to do is get that bearing out of the drive side cup. And just screw it out. And you can see there, it's almost out, right? So at this point here, it's really nothing. Like basically, it's not sitting flush in the drive side cup. Take my wood here and just kind of bang it out a little bit. Now, this is what I was talking about before, right? You might want to use your spindle, your bottom bracket spindle, but like, look what can happen, right? So, you know, that's a fail in itself, but really, I did that so that you can see how much of a pain it is and how much extra work there is, right? So there you go. Now you can see that the bearing is stuck on the spindle, and it's just causing more work, right? Like more headache for you. But because this is YouTube and this is a YouTube video, I'm always going to try to show you the hard way to do things. That way you learn from other people's mistakes. I'll just show you how to get it off. Like, it's really easy. All you have to do is just think about it a little bit. Just kind of put it in and give it a good tap, bang it out. You know, again, I could have just used my punch here, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get it out. So I want to make sure I do it right. I don't want to cause any problems. Like, I don't want to break any of this stuff in case I need these things for later, or in case it just doesn't work, because you know, there's a possibility that the cups just aren't compatible, right? So just kind of did the same thing, knocked the bearing out with the punch, and here we go, finally, right? Now, you see how much extra work that was? Like, it's just such a pain. So if you just think about things, you know, ahead of time, plan it out, you can get this done really, really easily. So there, just kind of put it together for you and just show you, you know, the way that it would look together. And it's a good idea to always read the seals, so you know what type of replacement bearing you would need. Now, I'm just going to show you here, I already had like Shimano bottom brackets. What I'm trying to do here won't work, okay? Like, you can see there, they're kind of like pinched on right around the bearing, and these things are almost impossible to get off. Like, some of the old ones you can unscrew them kind of, but I don't think this is one of them, and I also don't think that the bearing is going to be compatible with the cup that is already stuck in the frame. And you can see that these cups, they're somewhat comparable, so maybe it would work, but it's really hard to tell. Like, I don't want to put that much work into it. I'd rather put more work into actually, you know, showcasing what to do and what not to do, and what happens if you kind of mess up or whatever. You can see that the bearing might actually be a little bit too small on the Shimano one, so, you know, I'm just going to give it a thumbs down, and I'm going to stick with my cheap bearing. Okay, so we'll just move on to the fix so that you can see what's going on. So I have the frame in the stand here, and you can see that, you know, there's that seized bottom bracket cup, the drive side cup. And what we want to do is just kind of measure the inside, right? Because, you know, I don't know if these are going to be exactly compatible, so I'm going to have to take that into consideration, because it could actually change the length of the spindle. So there we go. What we do is we just take our caliper, we use that back end, right? So there's kind of like a, you know, like a little pin that sticks out, and what we want to do is just measure it, and we can see that the new cup is just a little bit shorter than the old cup, the cup that is seized in the bottom bracket shell. So, you know, like the new cup is a little shorter. I don't know if that's really going to affect the placement of the bearing, but, you know, like, we don't really have much choice, right? And this is what I mean by creative. So anyone can just kind of smash that bearing right in to the cup, but what we want to do is, you know, we want to treat it as good as possible, because we can break the bearing, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to kind of show you this press that I made. So the way it works is we put our bearing in, right? We have like a bolt with a washer, and the bolt has to be long enough so that it'll stick out of the, you know, the outside of the bottom bracket cup, and long enough so that we can put a washer on there, or maybe two, and put a bolt on so that we can press it in. There you go. You can see, like, this is just kind of a mock-up I made for you, because, you know, so you can see it outside of the shell, because you wouldn't really be able to see it on the inside. We're going to have bolts on each side. Obviously, the head of the bolt is going to be on the inside, and the nut is going to be on the outside. So there we go. We just put, you know, like the extension on, and so we can get into the inside of the bottom bracket shell and get under the head of the bolt. And then on the outside of the bottom bracket cup, we just use our other ratchet, and, you know, like, ideally, it should just press in, right? I'm just going to set it up here. Okay, so you can see what it looks like on the inside. And what we got to do is we got to line up the bearing, right? So that, you know, it's nice and straight in the cup, so it'll press in nice and straight. We're ready to go, and I'm just going to put some grease in there, because, you know, I want it to slide in. Also, in case this messes up, I want to be able to get it out. If it's in there dry, it could stick, make it really difficult to remove it if I have to. But also, like for the next guy, right? Because I don't think anyone's going to be able to get that cup out non-destructively. So, you know, if the next guy sees what I did here, watches this video, then that person can just do what I did, just copy it, and, you know, the bottom bracket's always going to be good. Just because there's a seized cup in there, it doesn't mean anything. So I'm just going to try my best to line the bearing up. Alright, so I got my press all set up, ready to go, and I just got to set it up here with the ratchets. You know, it just kind of didn't work out that well because it wasn't, the bearing just wasn't going in straight. So now I have to take this apart, and this is what I meant by, you know, in case I have to knock the thing out. If it's in there cockeyed, it's not in there straight, the bearing, then it's just not going to work. So I suppose I could have tried like a different press, but you know, I'm not even going to bother. I'm going caveman here, and I'm just going to bang it in so you can see, you know, how I actually got this fix done. I wanted to show a little finesse, but it didn't work out here. You know, that became a problem, and some people, they don't necessarily have, you know, the utmost impatience or the ability to deal with frustration very well. So this method is perfect for people like that. Now, I tried to do it just on the stand here, but you know, the stand was moving around, and it was really, really difficult to get that bearing in. You can see there's like wood flying off, and nah, you know, I'm not doing that in here. My wife's gonna freak out, and you know, plus the banging, she's not gonna like that. So I went outside and I just reefed on it. You know, you get that frustration flowing and you got a lot of juice, so you know, I took it out on this. And if I break it, I don't care. Like, I'll just cut that thing out if I have to. I just wanted to get the right angle here on my bench, and I broke my wood, my scrap wood. So I guess I'll be looking for another piece of scrap wood, and I got it. So this is what it looks like. Spins perfectly fine. It's nice and flush inside of that cup. We didn't have to do anything destructive other than break our you know, protective piece of wood. Now the deciding factor here is going to be to see if it's all straight, right? And we'll know that by putting in the non-dry side cup. And there we go. I just make sure the threads are lined up perfectly, and I'm putting it in dry. I'm not going to put it in yet. I just want to make sure that it's going to be in there and nice and tight. So it all worked out, and you know, there's a thumbs up. Okay, we're just going to move on over to the cable stop barrel adjusters, because the barrel adjuster C's in there, so they're no good, and they've broken off, so you know, they're really no good. So basically what I did is I took the grinder and I just grinded them off. You know, I tried to make them as flush and flat as possible, but you know, it doesn't always work. So here you go. You can see it's not bad. That little piece is off. I wanted to leave like a little bit sticking out so I can put these homemade barrel adjusters that I made. And this is what I mean by the creativity that I'm just not seeing in a lot of the videos here on YouTube, which is why I got this bike for so cheap, right? Like I mentioned in the intro. So it's great for my hobby, and you know, I get to show off you know, a little creativity. So my wife and I, we went out, we bought this epoxy. You know, it's supposed to work as well as brazing, but you know, another reason why I'm doing this, just to see if their claims are right. So one thing you have to do is you have to really scuff up the surface, okay? And I have this file here, and this is what I'm using to scuff it up. Like, all it is aluminum, so it doesn't take a lot of effort. So what I'm trying to do is make a really rough surface to which that epoxy will adhere, and you know, hopefully it'll hold and work exactly as a braze-on cable stop barrel adjuster. So here we go. I scuffed up the sides of the nuts here a little bit, and really all these are just old style nuts from older V-brakes, and it holds a barrel adjuster perfectly fine. So you know, it's a no-brainer for me. Now, is that going to be enough surface for it to hold? I don't know. Here, I'll just kind of give you an idea what I'm going to do here. So the epoxy would be in between the two metals, because these are steel, right? These nuts, they're steel, so I don't know. I don't know if it's going to hold, but one thing I do want is, and they mention this, is galvanic corrosion to just kind of hold those guys in place. but that takes years, like decades. So I'm just going to apply this epoxy here. You know, I'm not going to go overboard. I just need a thin layer, well, a thin enough layer so that I can put the nut on and move it around. You get it like 5 minutes, maybe, something like that. And, you know, I'll do both sides first. And then what I'll do is I'll place on the nuts, which will be my new barrel adjuster, well, which will be my new cable stops for my barrel adjusters. And, you know, we'll go from there. So here we go. And, you know, like if you're going to use this stuff, make sure you use gloves, right? Because you don't want this on your skin. So I'm going to start on the other side that you can't see, just kind of give you an idea. Because like my hand's probably going to be in the way on the one closest to us. And also, like, it moves around, right? Like, gravity is going to kind of take it. This epoxy's thick, but it's not the thickest. So you just want to kind of push it on there, hold it in a little bit, let it adhere a little bit, and then move on to the other one. You can see there, I'm just kind of playing with it. And I want to place it so that it's flush the top of the material that was left over of the old barrel adjuster. And now I keep playing with it because like I can see it kind of moving a little bit. You can see it there, it's moving there. One thing I'm gonna have to do is I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet here and just hold it in place until the epoxy like really sets. It takes about 10 minutes, they say, to set. So it's been about like 3 minutes and it was kind of holding, but you can see it's still moving a little bit, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this broken popsicle stick, and I'm just gonna apply pressure here for as long as I can till I notice that they're not moving. Okay, so once I noticed that they were set, I took just some Scotch tape and I taped it on so that it keeps a good amount of pressure on there. I didn't want to use anything too heavy, like a tube or, you know, I don't know, like a bungee cord or something, just in case like it slips and then it pulls it off the glue. And I don't want it to pull off because it's a lot of work. Like I'd have to like scrape off all the old glue. I'd have to let it harden, then sand it all off and then start again. I don't want to do that. So now that they're held on, you can just see here, you got the epoxy that I mixed up and everything. And, you know, it comes in like a two-thing, like, syringe, you know, so that it pushes out the same amount of material, the same amount of epoxy from each side, which I guess one is the glue and one is a hardener. But, you know, YouTube's littered with guys showing you how to use epoxy. I actually watched a video myself. I gave the guy a like, you know, and you know, what more can you do, right? And now this is after a little while here, I think overnight. You can see it's on there pretty tight. Like, I think that I saw it moving, but I don't think so. Like, it's not. It's on there pretty tight. We're just going to test it out right now by putting in the barrel adjuster. And I'm going to be very careful with it. There we go. This is the way that it would work, right? Except you would put grease so that it doesn't fuse again. And then you would take your housing and just kind of test it out. And you can see here that shifting gears isn't really going to put a lot of pressure on the epoxy part. The pressure is going to come from the housing because as it's being pulled, it's going to push and pull inside of the barrel adjuster. And of course, there's always, you know, drop your bike or whatever. It just knocks it off, right? So I don't know. I think I might put a little extra on there just to reinforce it, but I don't know. It might look crappy and then what, right? What's better, functionality or aesthetics, right?